Now it's time for our final type of formula writing, and this is naming acids. In order to name an acid, we need to know what an acid is. When dissolved in water, an acid produces the H+1 or H+ ions. We're going to do a full unit or two on acids specifically later on in the year. So for right now, to help us with our naming, all we need to know are that acids are compounds that begin with H, or begin with hydrogen. So when we need to name acids, acids break into two categories: acids that have oxygen and acids that don't have oxygen. When we name acids without oxygen, we're going to look at the anion. If the anion of the acid, the second part, our negative part, does not contain oxygen, we name it by using the prefix hydro and the suffix IC. For example, one of our most common ones, HCl. We look at our anion, which is Cl. Cl does not contain oxygen. There's no oxygen written there. So we are going to name this hydrochloric acid. If we have something like H2S, which isn't as familiar, but we just look at it, there's no oxygen. So we look at S. S is sulfur, and so we're going to name it hydrosulfuric acid. Our other option is naming acids with oxygen. If the anion, our negative part of an acid, does contain oxygen, which means it's coming from one of our polyatomic ions, the acid name comes from the anion, and there's two simple rules. If the anion, if our polyatomic ion ends in ATE, such as sulfate or nitrate, the suffix is changed to IC, and the word acid is added. If the anion ends in ITE, such as nitrite or sulfite, the suffix is changed to OUS, and the word acid is added. So for some practice, H2SO3. I recognize the H that tells me it's hydrogen, and then I look and I see that there's SO3. SO3 is one of my polyatomic ions, and that is sulfite. So yes, there is oxygen, and the anion is sulfite. In which case, if it's an ITE, I-T-E, I'm going to change it to OUS, and it's going to be sulfurous acid. Now, we are used to hearing sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid would come from H2SO4. SO4 is sulfate. Sulfate becomes sulfuric. If we have H3PO4, yes, we have oxygen, and my anion is the phosphate ion. I notice my ending, it's ATE. So I'm going to take the root, which is the phos part, and I'm going to call this phosphoric acid. That's how we name our three different types of acids.